Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. It is episode number 112, and today we are talking about Inter Miami's revenge game against Atlanta United at the Benz. A 2-1 victory thanks to a new hero, that going by the name of Fafa Picault. Saur, my co-host, my friend, is joining me. I'm your host, Scotty. How are you feeling today?
I feel like we finally crossed the finish line for this marathon run of games that we've been on. And the first period of the season has culminated. And it's culminated with a beautiful last-minute victory. And what better way to start the international break than to talk about Inter Miami's win against their potential rivals, I guess, as some people are trying to say. Big win yesterday. Puts me in a good mood. Happy to talk about it. But before that, how are you?
I'm feeling good. I think we've got some exciting things going on at the Drive Pink Dialogue behind the scenes, and that this marathon of games, right? We've had 8 games in the last 26 days, and that means we've had 24 episodes of the podcast, whether that's the pregame, the postgame, or the recaps. And then you talk about the 5-hour episode we did at the beginning of the season and all the season previews, that it feels like we haven't actually been able to take some of these things we've been working on and put them into action. And that is hopefully going to change over the next week and a half as we actually get a little bit of a break and some time to digest and breathe. We will be doing midweek episodes and all that stuff, so no fear. But certainly the games have a certain level of effort that goes into it, or time preparation, so that we can be smart and intelligent and try and say smart things, which is something I think we try and do. There are a couple things that we should mention before we get into this game. So why don't we start there with the international call-ups? Inter Miami, 5 players that are going on international duty. Telasco Segovia, no surprise, going with Venezuela. Fafa Picault going to the Haitian national team. We knew that was going to happen. Benjamin Cremaschi joining the U.S. U20 team. Santi Morales joining the U.S. U18 team. And Noah Allen is going to Greece for a call-up. I wasn't actually able to confirm if it was for the U21s or which version, or if it's the senior national team. So I apologize for not getting that detail right. But the real big news, well, for Noah Allen, it's big because it's his first time since switching to Greece. But the big news is Lionel Messi, who pulled out of Argentine national team duty earlier today. We didn't really notice it during the game last night, but it looks like he pulled up and has a little bit of a muscle issue. Sounds like his adductor. That happened in the 64th minute. We can talk about that play, but Messi skipping international duty with 2 big games for Argentina. Not really big in terms of World Cup qualifying. They're going to qualify with no problem, but it's against Brazil and against Uruguay, 2 of the rivals of the region. So certainly not something Messi would want to miss. He is missing those. So that makes me think it's a little bit more serious than just rest and fatigue issue.
Yeah, first of all, big congratulations to Noah Allen. Obviously, since switching allegiances, I think this is the first time that he's going to be representing the Greece national team, whether it's at the youth level or the senior level, we're yet to see. But congratulations to him. Big news for him. The Messi news was big. And when they announced what the issue he's facing physically is, I remember that play very clearly because he shot that the ball, and as soon as he did, he held his thigh, and I think that was where it sort of went downhill for him. A little gutted for him, of course, because he's not going to be able to go to his Argentina national duty, which I think is important for him personally. I do think it'll be good for him to just rest it up. I hope it's nothing serious. This is definitely a recurring injury that keeps bothering him, I believe, that adductor, and they need to get it looked at and make sure he heals up properly, because we don't want it to happen again and again, because it tends to be him sitting out a fair number of games after having a very, what they say, a minor issue, but it's definitely not a minor issue. So I hope it can get sorted out over the next 2 weeks, but I don't want to see him miss too many games for Inter Miami.
Yeah, listen, he played the rest of the game. It happened in the 64th minute. It was there was a transition for Atlanta. Yannick Bright steals it, pushes it to Messi. Messi has space in the box, fires a shot. Really nice save by Brad Guzan in that moment. And then he kind of pulls up. He's sort of grabbing it, and you can see that he's in pain. I don't think he took another corner for the rest of the game. But he also stayed in and had some nice moments and some nice passes and a couple shots that were very dangerous. So it's not like it completely hampered him of his ability to play. But as he sort of let the adrenaline of the game wear off and, the being warm and staying loose, that sort of calms down after the game. Maybe it was causing him a little bit more pain than expected. So hopefully he's back in 2 weeks, and this is just absolutely precautionary, which makes sense because even Argentina would like to make sure he stays healthy for the long term and not miss him for a couple months. So Messi stays with Miami over the international break.
Do you think that's going to be a positive overall for him to just be around the team over the international break and get a little bit of time off? Because we have been playing a lot of games. Obviously, he's missed a few number of games as well, but just for him to get back his fitness, do you think that's going to be a net positive?
Last year, he missed the March international window, and Inter Miami went to the New York Red Bulls and got beat 4-0. So I'm going to say no. He was injured for that camp too. So I mean, sure, it's fine. I mean, it's not like it's a bad influence, but it clearly didn't have much of an impact in terms of our results last year. Inter Miami, no game during the international break next weekend, which is very nice. So I believe there are a couple MLS teams that might have to, but Inter Miami, not one of them. The other big news, not big news, but rumor going around in England, Benjamin Cremaschi. I don't know if you saw this rumor today, but a couple outlets in England talking about how he is being looked at by Tottenham, among other Premier League clubs, as a potential ad over the next couple transfer windows. They're keeping a close eye on him. There, I think, has been, especially in our chat, a lot of criticism of Benjamin Cremaschi, and I don't think we have sort of fed into that as much as we've seen from others, but I think this is just a reminder that this is a really high-level prospect that some of the best clubs in the world are keeping an eye on. I don't expect him to end up at Tottenham in the next 6 months or in the next year or anything like that. But if he's on Tottenham's radar, that means he's on a lot of other teams' radars. I would personally love to see him end up at PSV with all the Americans over there right now. But that's, pipe dream, perfect case scenario in my opinion.
Yeah, and I don't have anything to talk about for Benjamin Cremaschi for this game, so maybe we can take just 2 minutes to talk about him right now. But I feel like he's unfairly criticized by the chat and by a lot of Inter Miami observers on a casual basis. There is some things that he does really well that go unnoticed, and I have refrained from feeding into some of that criticism. Sometimes on the first watch, it doesn't seem like he's had a good performance, but when you rewatch a game, you notice the little things that he does. And I feel like because his impact has not been translated in goals and assists, it's sort of unfairly reflected in some criticism. But as you mentioned, he's been looked at by a lot of big teams, Tottenham being one of them. If he does go to Tottenham, he better get used to not winning any trophies because they haven't won in a while. But regardless, I think it's going to be really positive for him wherever he goes. We need to enjoy him while we can because I don't think he's going to be here for long.
Yeah, and listen, all of the exciting young players that Inter Miami has, Ian Frey and Noah Allen and David Ruiz and Yannick Bright, and like all of these guys, Cremaschi is the one they decided to pay early and first to make sure they kept him. So, all of the people behind the scenes really like this kid. And continue to make sure he gets opportunities. And I think anyone that remembers Inter Miami from 2023 remembers that when you take off Messi and Suarez and Alba and Busquets and you make him be one of the focal points of your team, he's quite an exciting prospect. And I will never let that go because I remember what that was like going to Columbus and winning because Cremaschi has a great game and set things up. So, I think that's what it is. And it doesn't surprise me that bigger teams are going to go from, again, PSV. I would love to see him go to PSV. Anything else on your mind before we get into this game?
No, I think there's a few things to talk about for this game as well. So let's get into it. I'm excited to talk about how we beat Atlanta finally and how the Brad Guzan curse has been lifted.
I would say cue the music, but we haven't gotten that settled yet. So I will just kick it off. Inter Miami returns.
Do you want me to give you some background music? Sorry, I didn't want to disrupt
you. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. No. It's too late. I got to do it now.
Nah, go on. Hit me
Inter Miami returns to the scene of the crime as they take on Atlanta United at the Benz, and it looked a lot like the painful memories that feel too fresh. Early goal for Atlanta as the star signing goes up for a cross in the 11th minute, and brings down a goal. Ronnie Dyla says, that was nice. I think I'll take it twice. Again, Latte Lath header goes in. This time, not so friendly. Gets called back for offsides, and then the tide begins to turn, and the breakthrough in the 20th minute. Bartosz Slis loses the ball to Lionel Messi, who makes Derek Williams regret his life choices, chips Brad Guzan to even the game. But if you thought this would unlock the floodgates, you'd be wrong, because Heron-hating Brad Guzan showed up and saved off a Messi show, saved off an Allende shot, saved off another Messi shot, and then again, as Guzan once again turns back the clock against Miami. 78th minute, Fafa Picault gets ready to come on, and then he waits the longest 5 minutes of his week to finally come onto the pitch. That was followed by the shortest 5 minutes of his week. That saw a potential handball in the box from Redondo. Atlanta can't stop yelling about it, but Miami doesn't stop playing. Off a corner, Jordi Alba crossed into the back post, and who else but the hometown hero with a soft header perfectly placed into the far netting. Fafa is the hero. Miami gets revenge. Herons top the Eastern Conference. Life is good.
We should name this section Scotty's Super Dialogue indeed. I agree with Cynical in the chat. Again, phenomenal job. A big round of applause for Scotty. This was a great game. Top line thoughts. I had a lot of fun watching this game. It was a sharp game, and honestly, credit to Atlanta. They did bring it. I thought they played really well, but Inter Miami was just a different class towards the end. Overall, a really fun game to watch. If I was a neutral, I would have really enjoyed that game regardless. As an Inter Miami fan, I was ecstatic that we ended up on the right side of the scoreline. There were moments where I thought Inter Miami struggled, especially at the start of the game, but we built up our confidence and our tactics as the game progressed, became a lot more comfortable. I think the commentary box said it a couple of times that towards the end of the second half, it almost felt like Inter Miami had come into their own and gone on to a different level, to the point that Atlanta didn't necessarily hurt us too much. And that, I think, maintained throughout the rest of the game as well. Kudos to Fafa Picault for coming off the bench and actually scoring that beautiful goal. But overall, a great team performance. A lot to talk about in terms of tactics, but I think top line, great matchup, lived up to the hype.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest takeaway. And I thought it was even true on the rewatch, because I ended up sitting there thinking to myself, this is a really good back and forth game. A number of chances both ways. I don't think either team should feel like they were out of this game. But I did come away with a better understanding of what Atlanta is and what they are going to thrive at. And I think that Inter Miami sort of might be the opposite. That might be the kryptonite for what Atlanta wants to do. We will get into that. But let's start with that 11th minute goal. Brooks Lennon with a beautiful cross floats it to the back post to Emmanuel Latte Lath, the big signing for Atlanta, and he just heads it in so smooth from those two. And then the second one I thought was almost identical. Obviously, that one gets called offsides, but he is going to be a threat on those vertical balls, on those crosses in the box. And with Pedro Amador and with Brooks Lennon, they're going to put in a ton of balls into the box. I think the same with Miranchuk eventually. So that's like a real weapon for them. And we saw it early. I thought Maxi Falcone, probably the most responsible, but really I felt like that's just a really tough play to stop if you can have that sort of precision in the cross.
Yeah, I think it became quite clear early on that Atlanta would try to utilize the wings and put those crosses in to allow their big giant Latte La to score those headers. I was surprised Inter Miami let them do that so easily twice. When that second goal went in, I was like, oh boy, we're in for a long night. But thankfully, that was offsides. I saw it very, very similarly, but I sort of rationalized it in the sense that it was minute errors from four different players that led to the big problem. So I think Jordi Alba was a little bit slow coming back. He definitely did not track back when Miguel Almiron put that ball into Brooks Lennon. Then I felt like Noah Allen could have maybe done a little bit better to stop the ball into the box. But honestly, that was a beautiful cross. Maxi Falcone, you've mentioned, probably should have done better in judging where the ball's going to land. And then Rocco Rios Novo, I thought, could have done a lot better in saving that. He sort of got caught in between no man's land, went up for it, then decided against it. And before anything, Latte Light put the ball into the back of the net. That was their game plan. they were not finding much joy through the center of the park. They weren't able to exploit the middle, which I thought was really good for Miami to close down some of those spaces in the middle. So then they resorted to the wide sides. On the right hand side, I thought they were not able to exploit it as much because of Luhan staying back so much. And then left hand was where they found those spaces, and both those crosses came from there. They're going to be very dangerous from crosses. It's going to be their biggest weapon. They're going to have to utilize it a lot more. But as you said, Inter Miami sort of figured it out eventually. But for those two plays, I thought they did really well. And it'll be harsh to criticize any one player, but you could see we were struggling to contain some of their crosses.
Well, and I also think it's sort of like a personnel problem. It's not that we played it wrong. It's just, listen, Maxi Falcone is not going to be an aerial dominant center back. We know that, and that's not why he's on the team. I do wonder if the next time we play this team, we might have Toto Aviles back there next to Noah Allen just because of the matchup, or maybe the next time we play this team in a big game. Because that was like a concern. And if you can put crosses in pinpoint accuracy like Brooks Lennon did on a couple occasions, it's going to be hard to stop for Inter Miami.
And it wasn't even like any one player did something majorly wrong. I felt like you could pinprick a few positional plays where you would have been like, okay, maybe he could have been somewhere there. But honestly, a beautiful cross by Brooks Lennon, and you have to give Latela the credit for scoring that goal.
Yeah. To me, I can just chalk that off to it being a great play by an opposition, and sometimes that happens. One that I don't think you're going to be able to chalk off so easily if you're Atlanta is that 20th minute goal for Inter Miami. Bartosz Slisz trying to play out of the back. Basically, the entire back line messed up in some way for Atlanta on that play, putting themselves in bad positions. Ultimately, it leads to Messi stealing the ball from Bartosz Slisz, crossing over Derek Williams, and then chipping Brad Guzan. I mean, that was just so vintage. It was so beautiful. I think if you pull the GIF out of that moment, you could just watch it on repeat for.
You forgot to mention where it started, though. That play started from Messi all the way back with a beautiful ball into Allende out wide. Allende putting that ball into Suarez, and then Brad Guzan palming it off, and that's where the chaos started to unfold. But Messi's ball into Allende was absolutely phenomenal. And I think that ball was quite far back into our own half where it started. And then he just sprinted through. We collected ourselves in a single press. I think it was Segovia, Bright, and Messi perhaps, who sort of created that cup shape right in front of the ball. Did not allow Bartosz Slisz to even have a breather. And then Messi, recognizing that there's a bad touch in there, bounced on it and then finished it off beautifully. I think Mascherano mentioned in his post-game chat that only someone like Messi can do that, create that goal from there, but also the composure to just completely sway the defender in another direction, and then the balls to chip it over Brad Guzan. Beautifully done overall, I thought. Well-deserved into Miami as well, but Messi was the heart of that play.
Just a type of play you can watch over and over. Fast forwarding to the 28th minute, there was a play I didn't want to get forgotten. It was a turnover by Alba that got pushed to Segovia, and he had a really nice chip over the defense to Luis Suarez, who had space and time in the box, but he clearly didn't think so, and he turns and just smacks it first time without looking. He could have collected that ball and had clearly scored a goal there if he had just understood that he had a time to take a touch or two. But the chip over by Segovia I thought was just really classy. Miranchuk, 44th minute, had a laser beam, but it was sort of right at Rocco Rios Novo. But that was from deep. I thought that was a nice play by Rios Novo. 46th, first minute of stoppage time. There was a big save from Brad Guzan on an incredible half volley by Lionel Messi. Brad Guzan again was just in the zone. I know both it's the second goal. You can clearly give him some blame for it, but I mean, for the first 88 minutes of this game, he was really, really good.
Yeah, at some point we need to stop having a conversation about whether Brad Guzan is going to be a 40-year-old goalkeeper against Inter Miami, because he is it. Like against Inter Miami, he's it. He just shows up and does things that a normal goalkeeper doesn't do on his day. And Brad Guzan is a normal goalkeeper, just not against Inter Miami. So let's just move on from that conversation, because he's always going to show up against Inter Miami.
Uh, Jordi Alba had a really nice shot into the side netting in the 52nd minute, sort of off a volley from a Suarez cross. 54th minute, this was a moment you noticed or you talked about in our post-game reaction last night. Noah Allen has the ball stolen from him inside the box by Miguel Almiron, and it leads to what looked like a clear-cut opportunity developing for Atlanta. And then Sabah Lobjanidze and Emmanuel Lattelat just kind of run into each other. And that gives time for the defense to collapse and make it tricky. And then the shot becomes an easy save for Rocco Rios Novo. But that was the one Noah Allen moment that I thought he would have wanted back. And then the real moment for me for Rios Novo was the 58th minute. Sabah Lobjanidze kind of finds himself open down that left side, creates some space, gets into the 6-yard box, and kind of has small deflection from Maxi Falcone. And then it takes some real instincts from Rios Novo to be able to deflect that shot out, because it was like short distance, really, really instinctual, quick reaction type play from the goalkeeper, which I like to see. And I thought that was his best play of the game, honestly.
Yeah, I don't
know.
think he necessarily had much to do in terms of saving shots. There was one shot, I believe, from Muyumba that hit the post.
So about a minute later is when you get the
Yeah.
diving, where he sort of has to go to his left and dive for it. I'll be honest, I thought that looked harder than it should have been.
Yeah.
I think either Ustari or Calendar kind of just takes 2 steps over and catches it, but because he is a little bit of a smaller goalkeeper, he had to dive for it. But he made the play, so credit to him, because I do think that was probably going in if he doesn't get a fingertip on it. Suarez, slightly after that, Suarez has an incredible touch to Messi that gets Messi going in transition that leads to an Allende shot. But again, Brad Guzan was just was there in the right time. And then speaking of right
Allende
time,
had a heavy touch.
He did have a heavy touch. He made it more difficult for himself than it needed to be. And then the 64th minute, Yannick Bright stops a transition in its tracks. I was so impressed with Yannick Bright in this moment. The instinct to know exactly when to attack the transition as opposed to defend the transition. He comes, he creates the turnover. It goes right to Messi. Messi gets a nice shot off, again, saved by Guzan. But that was the moment that Lionel Messi gets this injury or whatever sort of discomfort happens. And you could see for the rest of the game, he was sort of dealing with that. Someone asked in the chat, should they have taken Messi off then?
It's hard because if he's not feeling something outright and if it's just a bit of a discomfort, then you have to leave him on because you're going for the win in that moment. So I think in that time, the adrenaline, the moment in the game, maybe Messi did not feel like it was serious enough for him to come off. But obviously, it must have been more serious once he came off, like once the game finished, because he now has to miss out 2 weeks of international football. But it's hard to judge in that moment. And honestly, you have to trust the player at that time, because I feel Messi would have definitely given the thumbs up to be taken off if he was feeling a lot more worse than what he was. So
I agree 100%.
Really blame Mascherano on that.
Yeah, he does stop taking corners after that. But aside from that, I didn't really notice it affect his play at all. So I thought it was fine, even on the rewatch. 74th minute, Maxi Falcone also sort of lands on his right shoulder. Hopefully he's okay. He was sort of dealing with a bum right shoulder for the rest of the game. 86th minute, in the final real moment before the Fafa Picault header, there's a potential handball on Redondo. I wouldn't have been surprised if they called that a handball. I don't think Atlanta fans should be screaming from the roof because it would have been a complete gift. Like, they did not earn a penalty in the box that sort of, would have upset them. It would have been a complete gift. But I do think that was probably a handball. I'm a little surprised they didn't go back and look at it.
I'm not too sure. His hand wasn't necessarily in an unnatural position, and you can see how it doesn't get called. Again, if it was called, I would feel really harsh on my team. So I would have definitely not wanted that to be called a penalty. So good call by the ref, according to me.
You know what? Since it's my team, I'll agree with you. But I think that's like 60-40 that it gets called most of the time. Like, I think I was kind of expecting it to get called, and I was relieved that it wasn't. Not so much that I was thinking it was 1,000% a handball. And the reason why I say that, because it clearly touches his hand, but it would have landed at the chest of Fafa Picault 12 inches later. And so it didn't actually disrupt Atlanta's play. It didn't actually stop a chance or anything like that. It would have been a clearance regardless. I imagine that's what actually went through the VAR's mind, or at least the referee's mind, because it clearly hits his hand. And it was
a quick decision by the VAR as well. So
Yeah. And then the corner, man. The goal for Fafa Picault, it comes off a corner. Again, Messi not taking corners, so they keep going short into design plays. And Jordi Alba with the cross to the far post. Everyone on Atlanta thought that ball was going wide, and then it just sneaks
I thought
in
that
off
ball
the
was
back
going
post.
wide.
And it goes in, and it was sort of slow motion disaster from Atlanta's perspective and slow motion awesome from Inter Miami's perspective. Brad Guzan may have been able to push it wide, but he kind of pulls up thinking it's going to go wide, and then it hits the corner, it hits the post and bounces in. I think almost poetic with how many incredible opportunities on goal were created in this game. Honestly, from both sides, that it was a play like that decides it. Fitting goal for Inter Miami. I think well-deserved 2-1 victory for Inter Miami. But it's just a funny way for that to go in. And then
No, you say
congratulations to Fafa Picault.
poetic. I say anticlimactic. It almost felt like the world has stopped for 3 seconds while that ball was just nestling into the back corner. I think Atlanta scored a similar goal against us in one of the series during the playoffs. So I feel like that was a replica of something we had experienced previously. But honestly, that header from Fafa Picault was so well placed. Obviously, we haven't brought him in to score headers, but the fact that he gets his first goal for Inter Miami in a competitive game, a last-minute header, perfectly well placed, and beats Atlanta. What a start to his Inter Miami career. If he doesn't even do anything for the rest of the season, he's already cemented his place as a local legend, but I feel like he has so much more to offer, and this is just the start of something really exciting for Fafa Picault.
Well, you know what it is? I was thinking about this all night last night and today. Last year, it was role players on this team that created the difference in games that won us points. I'm thinking about Leo Afonso's goal against Philadelphia when we're down to 9 men that took that draw into a victory. Thinking about Leo Campana's last-minute winners against Toronto and against DC that turned draws into victories. Thinking about Cremaschi's 85th minute goal at Charlotte, thanks to Julian Gressel. I'm thinking about Ian Frey's header against Columbus that helped us win that game. Like so many moments, Matias Rojas at Montreal, so many moments where it was the role players that made the difference in us collecting either 0 points to 1 point or 1 point to 3 points. And that was the difference between us winning the Supporter Shield or breaking the points record and not. And it feels like this is one of those moments again. Segovia had a similar moment against NYCFC where he saves us with a point at the death. This one, 89th minute, Fafa Picault, a role player, not Messi. It's not Suarez. It's not Alba. It's Fafa Picault who has the game-changing moment. And we're going to look back on this season and say, because of that moment, because we got two extra points in Atlanta, Inter Miami won the Supporter Shield, or Inter Miami broke the points record, or whatever crown and whatever jewel and whatever crown we're sort of building at this point at the end of the season. We're going to remember this moment as one that helped us get there.
So you're already considering us winning the Supporter Shield this season as well?
I think it's going to, I think they're going to win the Supporter Shield.
We'll see.
I think they're going to win the Supporter
Shield. Overall, I think the role players is what defines Inter Miami. I know we keep talking about the fabulous 5 and the Fantastic 4 or whatever, but it's the role players that do it for Inter Miami. At the end of the day, these are the kind of players that are going to get us to championship finals and maybe win us the championship finals. So I feel like Inter Miami has more of those players this season than they did last season, which is saying so much. But of course, we're going to have to do this time and again when we're under pressure. And yesterday was just an example of how important every single player is, regardless of how many minutes you get on this team.
By the way, guys, some people in the chat are saying the Supporter Shield doesn't matter. I'm fine with that. I think they're going to win it accidentally anyway. Like, I think they're going to win it. I think they're going to win it regardless of whether they go all out for it or not, because I think they're just going to be the best team in the league by a lot, and they're going to win a lot of games that other teams wouldn't, even when they're rotating and resting and all that other stuff. Do you remember last year?
Our friends up north might have something to say about that, by the way. Vancouver playing really good football, apparently.
Well, okay, but think about this. We've already missed Messi for 2 of our 4 MLS games. We've already missed a player on the field for like a first half red card for 2 of our 4 MLS games, and we're already top of the East. Like, and we played Charlotte and Atlanta, 2 teams that people think are going to be really good. NYCFC, that's probably going to be a playoff. Like, it's not like we've been playing the worst teams in the league. It's not like we've been playing Sporting KC every single game. And by the way, we've got 7 wins and 1 draw after playing 8 games in 26 days. I think they're going to win.
And we're waiting for Alan Abondo and Baltazar Rodriguez. So
yeah. So and it's because of players like Fafa Picault, right? That's, I guess my point is, you don't need Messi to play every single game in order for this team to win. I think they can win with guys like Fafa Picault and Julian, well, not Julian Gressel, Robert Taylor, and, you know, Gonzalo Lujan, and go down and down the list. I think there continues to be quality players, basically as far as you go down the list on this team. Santi Morales probably have his moment this year. Anything else on this game, or should we talk a little bit about what happened overall?
No, I think let's get into that as well.
I rewatched the game just in the last 2 hours, or before we went live. I rewatched it. And my biggest takeaway was Miami was the better team for the entire game. And last night, I thought Atlanta looked really good and menacing for the first 10 to 12 to 15 minutes of this game. I didn't even think that on the rewatch. I was looking out for that. I think Atlanta thrives, and I think this is the type of team they are right now. They thrive in chaos. They have a ton of great athletes. They have a ton of quick thinkers. They have a ton of guys that have ways to unlock and sort of create out of nothing. It's a lot of talent, right? But the way their coach has set up that front line right now is telling them, do what you want to do and figure out how to play with each other. It's not really, we're going to design patterns of play from the training pitch and we're going to let our coaches design how you should score goals. It's very much you guys are bigger, faster, and more technical than most of the teams you're going to go up against. Create some havoc, have those midfielders create some turnovers, get the ball wide to the fullbacks, and just let you guys play, put in good balls, switch it up, hit in transition, just win with chaos. And I thought the few moments of chaos they were able to create were when they created their opportunities. But Inter Miami is so good on the ball. They're so solid defensively this year with Falcone and Noah Allen and even Lujan and Ustadi. I know Ustadi didn't play last night, but like they're just so well structured, so well drilled, and so technical. It's so hard to get them to turn the ball over that they don't create as much chaos as they will against most of the other teams in the MLS. And so I think that strategy is going to be tough to execute consistently against Inter Miami. I thought Inter Miami controlled the pace, style, and tempo of this game basically throughout. They had a very exciting 10-minute period sort of to start the second half, maybe from like the 45th to 55th minute, something like that. But aside from that, I thought Inter Miami did a great job of controlling the tempo of this game throughout, really.
That's actually a really good summary of it. And I like the way you framed it. Create chaos and try to unnerve the other side. And I almost feel like if this was Inter Miami of last season, we may have been overrun a little bit because our shape would not have been there. And when I rewatched the game, the first thing I noticed was from minute 1, our midfield shape and our defensive shape was very solid. We weren't giving anything away in the middle of the park. We did not get caught out on defensive transitions even once, which this Atlanta side would have really enjoyed because they have the athletes to just completely run at you and then run you over. I think it was mentioned by Taylor Twellman in commentary that the front four of Atlanta have basically been allowed to do whatever they want. It's very fluid. But you're right. I think it's a little too fluid. Inter Miami's front line is also very fluid, but they have a set pattern of play that they utilize. I feel like Atlanta tends to get in their own way at times. And the perfect example of that was the shot Latte Lau was about to take, and then Lob Janitze, I think, got in his way. The chemistry is just not there, and I feel like they all take up similar positions. That being said, Inter Miami did a great job of neutralizing anything that was coming through the middle of the park, even in the first 10 minutes and then throughout the 90 minutes. Yannick Bright, again, phenomenal in that midfield. I thought Sergio Busquets was really good, very sharp. And then Maxi Falcone and Noah Allen just were very compact. So they didn't have any verticality to their play. That's when they decided to spread it out a little bit and play through the channels, play through the wide channels, basically. And they had a couple of good opportunities with crosses. And then after that, even that died out. You mentioned Inter Miami, really good on the ball, very good at controlling the tempo after the first 15 minutes. Once things started to settle down, we played our game. And I may not have vocalized this in the pregame show, but what I was thinking was as long as Inter Miami is able to not have sloppy passes, make sure their structure is compact and intact, we'll win this game. And that's exactly what happened. When we play our perfect 100% game, I don't think Atlanta as a team has enough to cause us issues or even think about, boy, we are going to be in trouble for certain parts of the game and are going to struggle. I thought Inter Miami got away fairly easily. There were instances against Charlotte where you could see we're struggling to hold on because we're down to one man. We're down one man. We're down to 10 men, right? In this game, it never felt like we were under the cosh or being hammered constantly. Yes, periods of 5 minutes, maybe here and there. But overall, played really well, protected the ball really well, played our game. I thought there were instances where our passing was so crisp. It was just moving across from right to left seamlessly. That for me is a big defining feature of how we're playing now. It's smooth, it's quick, and it's moving defenses left, right, and center. We played vertically, we played on the flanks, created good opportunities, and honestly came away with a deserving win. That's my summarization of the game.
No, I completely agree. And you mentioned, you compared it to Miami. The thing about Miami is the patterns of play are so well defined because they've been doing it for a decade, right? And so it is all led by Messi to Alba to Suarez or back to Messi. But
it's not just that. We have an added dimension to it with Allende on the other side creating some different options for us.
Right, but I guess my point is when you get into the final third, it's very well defined in this Messi to the left and then back central. And then when you're deeper, it's the balls over the top down that right side to Allende, or if he's on the left, down the left side. And listen, they're soccer players; they can do more than one thing. But that it feels so well defined. Whereas these guys on Atlanta, they play together 4 games, and so we'll see what they become. But the other thing I think about our defense that's very different than last year is it did feel like if we turned the ball over, it could get chaotic going the other way. And this team with Yannick Bright defensively killing off those transitions, and I think he's taken a step forward in that regard. And with Maxi Falcone being so well positioned and so well disciplined, and then Noah Allen being the perfect cover for Jordi Alba down that our left side, it really is personnel-wise a huge upgrade on what we were dealing with last year. And not that last year was terrible, but you can see why the base level for this team is so much higher when you have the right personnel in this system. And then you still have, I think, maybe even an upgrade in talent going forward. It's beautiful to watch. It really is. Yeah.
And Maxi Falcone has been an absolute gem of a find. I think very underrated, and just his IQ is on another level. We can talk about him in the awards, I'm sure, but I thought he was really good.
Yeah, and listen, we saw his one weakness is going to be defending those ultra freaky vertical athletes like Latte Lath. And can he do that consistently? Probably not, but that's why he's a $2 million player at Inter Miami and not, playing at a much higher level, because he's not a perfect player, but he's very good at all the things you really want a center back to be. So if that's his one weakness, I think we can take that and be happy with it. Anything else about this game? Because I feel like a lot of the other talking points we're going to get to when we talk about players individually, but just team-wise, structure-wise, I mean, they played really well, very disciplined, very well structured, didn't turn the ball over a lot. A lot of times last year we saw them get turnover happy, especially in the midfield, and as those fullbacks pushed forward. That wasn't happening. Gonzalo Lujan stayed back, so that wasn't even really an option down the right side. I thought they played really compact. They played within themselves, and as a result, they won the game on the road against a good team.
Yeah, I thought it was really that simple. My final takeaway from not just this game, but the course of the 8-9 games that we've played, Inter Miami has played more consistently good games across 90 minutes, where they've looked really good across the 90 minutes this season than they did last season. Last season, there were instances over the course of 90 minutes where we were absolutely terrible for 30, 35 minutes. And then the remaining 55 minutes, we were quite good and then came out with moments of magic. Now we've already had games where you were consistently good for 90 minutes. Not amazing, not brilliant, just consistently solid. And we got the result done. Yesterday, we were really, really good for the course of 90 minutes and beat a very good Atlanta side. So that was my final takeaway from this.
Yeah, and I want to give you some credit because you've spent a lot of time this early season talking about how this roster is very well balanced. I think that's exactly it's manifesting in exactly what you're talking about, where it is so well balanced that even when they're not like they go through 10-minute periods where they're not just bursting and just running through it like on point like they had the potential to be, the team's just well balanced and solid, so it doesn't hurt you going the other way. It doesn't sort of manifest in terrible things that you're sort of fighting to survive. It's just like you're just a good team. And again, that's why I think this team has such a high floor and what they can accomplish this year, especially in the Supporters Shield race. Last question, just because Natalia asked, what'd you guys think of Mascherano's sub choices in this game?
I feel like if the game had gone differently, I would have questioned it a bit more because I did not like the Yannick Bright substitution in the 82nd minute.
I agree.
Honestly, 8 minutes left. There's no point of him being taken off unless he has some issues physically. So didn't understand that. And it could have gone completely wrong because Redondo almost conceded a penalty. Other than that, I thought it was fine. Cremaschi should have come on. Segovia was looking very tired by the 60th minute. Cremaschi needed to come on because we needed some legs. And I think those were Fafa Picault, obviously. When you bring on a player who scores the winning goal, that has to be commended. So I thought Mascherano had a fine game, really good game. Questioned his decision-making at the time, but since we came away with the result, I don't have any complaints.
Well, Segovia, I think the two that are interesting, because I think Fafa Picault and Tadeo Allende is kind of a really natural, switch. And then the Aviles for Luis Suarez made sense, but after you get the lead and you're killing the game off. The two ones that I think are interesting are the Cremaschi and Segovia switch. I will say the most dangerous point of the game happened for Atlanta, I thought, leading up to that Cremaschi-Segovia switch. And I actually thought Cremaschi coming on, not that he was the catalyst for this, but that the change, maybe a fresher body in the midfield, really did help Inter Miami resettle this game. It gave Javier Mascherano an opportunity to get new instructions out. But it was right before that where Atlanta looked most dangerous, where they had the Lobjanice opportunity real close to goal that Rios Novo saved, the Mayumba shot from deep that Rios Novo had to make a save on as well. So I thought that actually did change the game for the positive, even if it wasn't necessarily Cremaschi that was the driving force of that. But you're right about Redondo and Yannick Bright. Like I would have rather seen him take off Sergio Busquets, honestly, than Yannick Bright.
Yeah, that would have made a little more sense.
Yeah, but you still needed a goal, so I
get
it. I get why you
wouldn't
take Busquets off, but it worked, so I guess there's no complaining. And then I guess the big question would be Calendar versus Rios Novo, but I don't know if we should have that conversation right now. Anything else, or should we get to awards?
Time to get to awards. I'm not sure if I've got good ones tonight, but we'll still get done with those.
All right, guys. On this show, we give out 6 awards: a Heron of the match, a Heron that flew north, 2 individual awards each. Because you went first last time, Saur, I will go first this time, and I will pick the easy answer and give Lionel Messi the man of the match. Just has the goal. I think that was a demon sort of helping moment to get one past Braguzan, but he was on fire in this game, helping defensively, really worked hard, especially defensively. He had a number of steals, and just like instinctually defensively, the instincts are there. And if he was sort of not quite the player he is going forward, and he had to be more defensively sound in order to be a professional player, like he's good defensively too when he wants to be, when he needs to be. And he gets the goal today that helps set us off. And then he had a number of chances where if the goalkeeper's not having a great night, he maybe has 2 or 3 goals in this game, an assist or 2 as well. So I thought he played incredible.
My favorite moment from Messi was not the goal. It was, I think, somewhere in the 25th, 30th minute where we'd already conceded those 2 crosses into the box that had dangerous opportunities for Atlanta. And then lo and behold, I see Messi on the right-hand side of the pitch in our own half, defending his butt off, stopping some of those corners. I was like, I haven't seen him do that in a fair few games now. That for me was the perfect reflection of where his head was at for this game. He definitely felt that loss against Atlanta in the playoff series last season, and he wanted a bit of revenge, and he got it. Perfectly capped it off. That goal against Brad Guzan was a bit of a, listen, I'm still the big big dog in this yard because he chipped Brad Guzan over. He tripped over one of their defenders. I believe it was Derek Williams, and
Yeah, Derek
sort of
Williams.
gave them a bit of an attitude, you know. And I loved how he played that game. I know the injury is going to be the big talking point now because obviously his availability is in question. But overall, over the course of 90 minutes, he was fantastic. It looked like he really wanted it, and he was sharp, and he was getting involved everywhere across the pitch.
It felt like that was the most he wanted a game since the Leagues Cup. That Inter Miami was in the Leagues Cup in 2023, and he first got here and he wanted to make an impression. That was, I mean, if he could provide that every single game, we would never lose again. He was awesome. I don't know what else to say. Like it was Messi being Messi, man. It was awesome. Like it was just awesome to see.
And I always get a text from some of my friends who never who don't follow MLS on a regular basis and just tune in from time to time. And it always reads, damn, Messi's still exactly how he was when he was at Barcelona. I was like, yep, yeah, he is. Great game for him. Deserved man of the match for sure.
Okay, since I gave out man of the match, it is your turn to give out Heron That Flew North. And for those that are checking in for the first time, our Heron That Flew North award is the award we give to the player doing the wrong thing. Florida herons do not fly north for the winter. And so if you catch one flying north, you're catching them doing the wrong thing. Saur, who is the Heron That Flew North?
This one was slightly difficult because I thought everyone over the course of 90 minutes had a fairly good game. And I struggled to find my Heron That Flew North award. After a bit of a rewatch, and maybe this is a personal opinion and a bias, and I would love to hear your opinion and others in the chat as well, I would give it to Rocco Rios Novo. I think he could have done slightly better on that first goal that we conceded from Atlanta. He got a little bit double-minded as to whether he wanted to come out and protect that ball or whether he wanted to stay on his line. Led to that easy header by Latela into the box. But regardless, I know it's a little bit harsh, but he wasn't confident and commanding like Ustari is, and maybe it's unfair to compare a 22-year-old to a 40-year-old veteran goalkeeper in terms of their confidence, but he felt like a third choice goalkeeper out there. You could tell that he is not the number one, and honestly, good for him for coming out of this game without any major errors that led to a goal or whatever. But I thought he could have been a little bit more commanding. And for me, his performance was nothing to write home about. And I didn't feel like there was any other outfield player who deserved the Heron That Flew North award because I thought everyone played fairly well.
Yeah, I do think it's a little harsh just because, but like that happens when everyone plays well. So I'm fine with it. Those first two goals, the first goal Atlanta scored and the one that got called offsides from Latela, I thought he looked. I'm not saying he should have saved either of them.
He looked
his
nervous.
Positioning, his confidence to go for it, his confidence to go out for it, his reaction to the header. I mean, I thought they were all really, really poor. I thought he was pretty good in the second half.
His body language in the first half seemed off as well.
That
like
save in the 58th,
commanding, right?
Yeah. His positioning was just off. And I think he was getting caught out of position, and that's what made him less confident in some of his actions. With that said, I thought he had a really nice save in the 58th minute on that Lobjanitse play I've referenced a couple times. He had the diving save that I'm sure he felt was like a man's man save. So, maybe he built some confidence there. I don't think that we have any goalkeeper controversy. So maybe I should just leave it at that. He's a young goalkeeper, and we'll see what the future holds for him. But it was fine. It was okay in a game where a lot of players played well.
Exactly. And for anyone who disagrees with me, that's well within your rights to do that. And as I said, this is harsh, but at the end of the day, as I always say, this is my award to give out. So I will stand by my decision. Right. Get us off with the first award.
Should I read the breaking news that just happened from Inter Miami?
Do I want to know, is it going to ruin my international break, or should I just listen to it?
It doesn't. It's just that Inter Miami is reporting that he underwent an MRI this morning to assess the extent of discomfort in the adductor region, which he experienced last night's match against Atlanta. It confirmed that the presence of a low-grade injury in the adductor muscle, but it doesn't say how long he'll be out or anything like that. So it's just confirmed it's a low-grade injury for Messi, which is why he's not going to international duty, which makes sense. And that's not really surprising based on what we've learned so far. But it is good to see that Inter Miami is actually reporting what's going on with their players.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the bright
Maybe
side.
it's more serious than the one that they previously did not report to the fans. So who knows?
Yeah. Okay. My first award is the Winners Win Award.
The Winners Win Award. This obviously goes to a winner from Inter Miami's team last night that won, and a winner that helped Inter Miami's team win. So I think this award goes to Fafa Picault, who with his beautiful, bold, shiny forehead hit the ball into the back of the net in the most beautiful, well-placed shot that helped Inter Miami, which is a winning team, win all 3 points yesterday. And that's why the winner's winner the winner's win award goes to Fafa Picault.
Do you know what winners do?
They win.
Winners win, man.
Yeah.
You know who's a winner? Fafa Picault comes on for 5 minutes and scores the winner. I mean, by the way, congratulations to you. I think you've guessed like 5 awards of mine in a row. I'll have to make them harder for you. But
Yeah.
dude, he comes on, he scores the winner because he's a winner. We talked about this when we signed him. He's the type of player that's going to work his butt off to get himself in positions to impact games. We saw him last year against Inter Miami earn a penalty just by hustling and working hard. We saw him last year for Vancouver almost get the game saving for Vancouver, the game tying header. He puts it about half a yard wide, but it's just because of the relentless effort to put himself in the right spot. As a bench weapon, that is an unbelievable player to have. This is a guy that should be starting for teams. He was killer in that Vancouver game last year. He was killer for Nashville the year before. All 3 times we played them, he was their danger man. He's a great player. And for us to have him as a super sub type that can come on and just win games for you with 5 minutes of pitch time, that's incredible. And you know what? He's a winner, man. And that's what winners do. They win.
Yeah, when we were doing that game recap, I realized I don't have an award for Fafa Picault, and I thought to myself, how could I miss that? But thank God for you to actually pick that up. Deserve it. Absolutely deserve it. And I'll say this, I'm just glad Fafa Picault is a Heron and plays for Inter Miami right now, because I would hate to go up against him. He's just that problematic in a really positive and a good way. And he just is an impactful player. And I feel like he's going to be one of those players that may not get that many minutes across the board compared to someone like Allende or Segovia, but will have as much of an impact, if not more, compared to them, because he just has the knack to get in front of goal and create those opportunities and finish them off, as we saw yesterday. This moment is going to be comparable to what we had last year with Philadelphia against Charlotte, I believe, where Cremaschi scored that goal, DC goal by Campana. So he's already made himself a fan favorite, and now I feel like his Inter Miami career can go off to a really good start. The foundation is in place. I'm so excited to see what he does for this team. Winners win, and Fafa Picault is a winner, and he's going to be so important for this Inter Miami team to try and go and win every single trophy that's out there.
Yeah. And he's got the X factor to him and to his game. And that's why I don't think any fan, listening or watching, if you see him start a game and he doesn't really have an impactful 45 minutes or whatever, and you're like, he's not as ball dominant or as effective in the minute to minute as a guy like Telasco Segovia or whatever, just have some faith and have some patience. He will come through with moments like this because he has the X factor. When the opportunity arises, he's going to be in the right position to make the right play. So I thought this was the perfect encapsulation of what Fafa Picault could be for this team. And the fact that it helps us win against Atlanta, a team that we haven't had a ton of success with in Atlanta over the course of our career at Inter Miami. And then, of course, obviously with the revenge from last season, awesome moment. And he came to this team as something of a hometown hero, right? He grew up in South Florida. He had played for the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. It was a homecoming of sorts for him. And he gets to start that first game in South Florida. He gets hurt 7 minutes into his debut at Chase Stadium. Terrible way to start your season, but terrible way to start your homecoming. I'm sure he had a lot of friends and family that came to that game to support him. He goes off after 7 minutes. So for his next 7 minutes, to include a game winner on the road against the team that beat Inter Miami last year in Atlanta, phenomenal moment for him. congratulations to him. And I think you're right. I think he's going to be an impact player for this team this year.
Right. Is it my turn now?
Only if you want to. I'd be happy to go next as well.
No, I've got a couple of good ones, I think. So I'm going to go for the Jack and the Beanstalk Award. And this is going to test your fairy tales knowledge.
Jack and the Beanstalk. I'm a little worried I have my fairy tales mixed up. Jack is the guy who bought the beans, the magic beans, and everyone said he was crazy. But then he planted them, and then overnight it grew 1,000,000 feet tall. I'm not really sure what the moral of that is or how it relates.
I will say you've got the first part right, but for you to get this award correctly, you need the second part of the story.
Don't have the second part of the story. I'm guessing that the moral is you have faith in magic beans, and you know who has faith in magic beans? No, Alan.
It's close. The Jack and the Beanstalk Award goes to Maxi Falcon. Could have been Noah Allen for a very similar reason as well. But once Jack planted those beans and they took him up into the sky to the giant's castle, he had to face off against this giant who kept eating his food. And every time Jack would come back down, be really disappointed. And then eventually he got up there and defeated the giant and got the golden goose. Maxi Falcon went up against a giant in La Tela, lost a couple of times, and everyone was like, is Maxi Falcon not that good? But then he showed up, he showed exactly what he's capable of, and he conquered his giant, that is La Tela, just like Jack did. So the Jack and the Beanstalk Award goes to Maxi Falcon. 3 games ago, we were having a conversation about how we have 5 defenders on this roster. And at this point in time, none of those 5 are guaranteed starters. Now we have 5 defenders on this roster. 3 are backups, 2 are clear starters. Noah Allen and Maxi Falcon, within a span of 3 games, have cemented themselves as the centre-back partnership that Inter Miami needs to go challenge for trophies against a very good attack that some Atlanta fans have dubbed as the best attack in the MLS. Maxi Falcon and Noah Allen, you can add him to the list, but I don't know if you have an award for him or not, went up against the best attack, allegedly, and came out with flying colors. I thought they were fantastic. I thought Maxi Falcon, with his veteran presence, with his ability to just position himself in the right areas, doesn't even need the speed to keep up with some of the physicality of the Atlanta side, did brilliantly and made an adjustment, came under adversity with this great striker that's been brought into this Atlanta front line, came up against adversity and was able to beat that really well. So for me, a very positive performance from him. So impressed.
I'm actually surprised you gave him an award. I thought this was sort of like a average game for him. I actually didn't think he was special in any way in this game. And in fact, if anything, I thought his biggest weakness may have been exposed. So I actually feel quite different about his performance in this game than you would. I think I may have considered him from Heron that Flew North if that was my award to give. So I will just leave it at that. I agree with you that he and Noah Allen are the center back partnership. I saw more from Falcone in his previous appearances that really impressed me than in this game. And I do think the height is a problem. And I think if you need to put a center back out there that can go with the Christian Benteke or an Emmanuel Latela, like I think he's the guy that gets sacrificed for Totavilas. It's not Noah Allen. Like I was more impressed with Noah Allen in this game than Maxi Falcone. But that's just my opinion. So, you said it wasn't that great of an award, so I will go by your words when you say that. And I'll move on. My award is the Sunset Award.
The Sunset Award. The sun, when it sets, looks absolutely gorgeous, like a portrait from a fairy tale, like Jack and the Beanstalk. The Sunset
You're thinking
Award.
about it wrong. That's my
Oh. The Sunset Award goes to a player who's at the sunset of his career and yet is having the most beautiful performances, and that's Sergio Busquets. Because we haven't given him an award in a while, and I feel like we should.
Absolutely wrong. Uh, you know what the sunset brings?
Darkness.
Darkness. It brings the night. You know what Yannick Bright brings to transitions?
Ah,
The darkness. He is the sunset that he's the beautiful thing that destroys the midfield. He brings
I
darkness
had such
to
a good
all
word for
transition
him.
opportunities that Atlanta tried to bring together. That play in the 64th minute that ends with Messi getting injured, I thought was one of the most fun plays of the moment of the game, because Yannick Bright sees the opportunity, without hesitation, attacks it, creates a turnover, and creates a shot for Lionel Messi, which who else would you want to have a shot inside the box? Like, it just encapsulated what Yannick Bright was. He is the beautiful thing that brings darkness to opposition teams. He is the sunset. Yannick Bright gets the Sunset Award.
I will
I'm
say that was a very convoluted way of saying that Yannick Bright had a great game. The rationale was a little bit iffy, but
I'm
I'll give it to you.
I'm
Um,
sorry, by the way, because I had two other good awards for other players, and if I knew you had an award for Yannick Bright, I would have let you have that one. But that's the way this goes, man.
I had a better award for Yannick Bright, but it's okay.
What was the
I'll
award?
keep it for some other day. Now, I'll keep it for
Okay.
another day. I don't want to use up my creative juices for this. Absolutely agree. I am seeing things from him that I haven't seen last season. And I know we talked about this in the off season when we were discussing expectations from the players, and we talked about Yannick Bright, how he's no longer going to be considered a rookie. His expectations, because of the kind of game that he had last season, have gone to a different level completely. So we raised the bar for what our expectations from Yannick Bright this season are going to be. I'm sorry, man. It's been 8 games, and I think we need to raise the bar even more because he is absolutely shattering those expectations. It's not even funny. He has been phenomenal to a different degree, to a point where I sometimes have to stand up and applaud because I just love the way that he plays the game. He is so intelligent in the way he positions himself, just absolutely shuts down any attack that's coming his way. And the perfect encapsulation of that was, I think, in the 60th minute, around the 60th minute, where everyone was running back because Atlanta was coming at us. Yannick Bright just realized what's happening at the right moment, just stopped. The ball completely just shut down right in front of him, had that sunset on their attack, and then he created his own sunrise with another attack the other direction. So overall, his performances have been great, and I'm loving how he's now starting to get involved offensively as well. Great award. I love Yannick Bright. What else can I
There,
say?
there was a moment late in the first half where Alexei Miranchuk runs around Yannick Bright, and he's like, "You are not taking this ball from me." And he has to go so wide to get around Bright that he runs right into Sergio Busquets, who takes the ball from him. And it was like, I would rather run all the way over here to have Busquets just easily just de-ball me than to have Yannick Bright take the ball from me again. Here's what I will say: take out Busquets, Alba, Suarez, and Messi. The four legends, of course, they are world-class players, and I still think they show that all the time. They are so incredible, and it's a privilege and pleasure to have them on our team. Take those four out. Yannick Bright's the best player on this team. He is.
I have absolutely no complaints for that statement. That can be clipped up and put up on the internet because we were first on the Yannick Bright train, and I feel like we're now conductors of that Yannick Bright train because God knows that train is going in some really fun directions. And honestly, I don't know how long he's here for Inter Miami, man. He has a bigger fish to fry elsewhere. So enjoy him while we can. I think one more season and perhaps that's about it. But great to see his growth. I'm glad that Javier Mascherano has recognized exactly what he brings to his team, and didn't take him long. Took him 3 games to realize that Yannick Bright is exactly what we need for this midfield. And just goes to show what an awesome player he is. And honestly, I feel like he must be doing something really right in that training locker room as well, because everyone just seems to fall in love with him immediately when they come on board. So good for him.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed this during the game, but I think Taylor Twellman says that every time he talks to Sergio Busquets and asks him a question, he always mentions Yannick Bright because he's the best player on the team other than those four. Like he just is. and it's an amazing rise. I mean, we could talk about it for the next 10 minutes.
Guys,
I will let you go
the
to your next
Yannick
award.
Bright, Yannick Bright fan club. The Drive Pink Dialogue started a year ago. Membership is $5 only. Please join us. Link is in the description.
No, it's $42 a year.
Yeah, $42 a year. There you go.
For his number, and we can ask him to change his number later to reduce that price. Okay, so what is your second and final award? Because I'll be honest, I think we have a lot of players that we still need to get to, even if they don't get an award.
I'm a little bit ashamed of this award, and you're gonna call me out on it. I'm sure. So I'm just gonna say it, and then we can forget about it. I'll give the Kill Bill award. Yeah,
the Kill Bill award. I've never seen Kill Bill, so I'm not sure where this is going, but it's clearly someone that wears a yellow pantsuit. Not a yellow jumper. I feel like Rocco Rios Nova wears the yellow goalkeeper kit, but he wasn't wearing it last night.
And we gave him the hair in the Blue North.
True. I think Jordi Alba might wear a yellow jumper on his days off when he goes to the beach and sips a coffee.
That is awfully incorrect, and I can't believe you haven't seen Kill Bill. Kill Bill is a story about a bride who wants to take revenge for the murder of a significant other. Just like Luis Suarez, who wanted to take revenge for Atlanta for murdering our playoff hopes last season. I told you, forgive me for this, but I didn't find any other award for any other player. Luis Suarez, I thought, had a really good game. I may not have said that over the last few weeks, and I may have been the biggest Luis Suarez detractor, but despite not scoring today or yesterday, he was quite sharp. He got involved in a lot of good plays. I can remember that play that Allende had in the 54th minute. Luis Suarez had a beautiful touch into Messi, who then was able to progress the ball further. I thought Luis Suarez overall looked sharp, looked ready for the game, and honestly, I wanted to give him an award towards the end of this 9-game stretch, just to recognize that he struggles out there, man. He has moments out there that you can tell it's not looking good physically. Yet he scores goals, yet he assists, and he works hard. He works really hard. And yesterday, I thought he had one of his better games for us, despite the fact that he didn't get on the score sheet. So just wanted to recognize Luis Suarez. Also couldn't think of an award for other players. So here you have it. The Kill Bill award goes to Luis Suarez.
Yeah, he was good, man. He had that one touch, like I think maybe the 60th minute, where Jordi Alba just clears the ball out of danger, and Suarez just gets under it. And Messi just knows what's about to happen. He could just predict the future. Suarez just has the most beautiful touch on a ball coming from 30 yards up, forward to Messi, who kicks off a fast break, and it leads to Tadeo Allende's shot where he touched it a little too far and made it a little too narrow for himself. But it's just the class, the quality. Again, he had a couple opportunities in the first half, specifically one that Telesco Segovia set up that I thought if he takes half a second, it's an obvious goal, but he just has so much quality. He's like, I can do this on the first touch. And he put it wide, but it was still a nice shot. So yeah,
and he had a good ball into Messi as well that almost led to a goal. He had some good moments this game.
The moment that Jordi Alba slams it into the side netting
was
almost
Suarez,
a goal. That was
yeah.
Suarez, yeah.
Yeah.
So
all right, my award is justified. There you go.
Well, I don't know about the award name or the explanation.
It was a great award name. Better than the 2 minutes ago. Award.
couldn't disagree more. Passionately disagree. I had an award for Telesco Segovia. I thought he was in his best this game compared to the last several games. I thought he looked tired over the last couple games, which is understandable. And he's someone that we've been clamoring about getting a little bit of rotation because he has so much quality on the ball. I thought he was really good in this game. He got off early. He got off early in the last game too. So I wonder if that's sort of contributing, but he still looked tired, but the quality, the ability to get on the ball and help slow the game down or speed the game up, was able to watch Messi come back and is starting to learn how to play around Messi, which I thought was a great sight. Oftentimes he would sort of cut centrally in front of Messi, 20 yards in front of Messi, in order to create space for that ball down the left side to Alba, or for Messi to operate sort of in that central channel. And then he becomes a dangerous piece high up the field. He's really smart. He's really technical. He's got a really a nice ability to put the ball where he wants to, and that was demonstrated by that ball to Luis Suarez. He's a real talent, man. I thought this was his best game since Houston.
Yeah, and I thought this was more a defensive game from him than an offensive game. You mentioned a couple of moments where he got involved offensively, had some really good passes into Suarez. But I thought Alba and him had to do a really good job to contain Atlanta on that side of the pitch and really mop up defensively as well. So his effort was probably double this game than it would have normally. And that's why you saw him come off in the 60th minute, because he was tired tracking back. Because after the first couple of crosses that they had, there was clear instructions from Javier Mascherano for them to just track back and make sure they stop. Overall, I thought a much better game from him. Unfortunate that we didn't utilize his side as much because we were afraid of that danger from crosses from Atlanta. And a lot of the offensive efforts came from Allende's side, most threatening ones at least. So it's understandable, but overall, I thought Segovia did really well in that left wing spot again after Messi's return to the middle of the park. This is going to be it, man. This is how Inter Miami's offense is going to look. And I think the more we play together, it's only been 8 games, but the more we play together, the more chemistry is going to build between these players. And they already have the IQ to understand where each player is going to be. Segovia's best thing that he does on the pitch is find the right spaces, because Messi and Alba occupy a certain space because they know how they want to combine. And Segovia is never in the way. He's never disrupting that flow, and he's always finding pockets of spaces that will be additional and added danger to the opposition and to our attack. So really like him as a player, and I thought he had a really positive game. Even though I when I started rewatching the game, I was like, maybe he didn't have that good. But as the game progressed, I thought he got better and better and more involved in the game. And glad he got a night off after the 60th minute, because he deserves this rest, even though he won't get it.
Yeah, well, he does have international duty. I think one of the positives about having these guys in attack go every single game, Messi, Alba, Allende almost every game, Segovia, and Suarez, is that, I guess Messi, not Messi, but the other guys, is they're going to build this chemistry. And now that they're in game 8, maybe 9, I think maybe they all started the Orlando City preseason game right before the season started. They're going to have that chemistry built up so that when they go to LA in 2.5 weeks, they're going to be ready for it in a way that not every MLS team would. We saw what Atlanta looked like yesterday, who's in game 4, and they've had probably those guys have started, but they've had to rotate a little bit in the midfield and stuff. Like, they're still building chemistry, and it would be easy to knock them off when they're not on their game or they're not taking their chances perfectly. The benefit of having these guys played every minute or every game is that they will have sort of ironed out some of the wrinkles heading into LA, and whatever happens in the quarterfinals, and if we get to the semifinals, they'll just be that much more advanced. So that's a beautiful thing. I'm very happy for Segovia. I thought he had a good performance. I hope he comes back healthy. I would not mind if he missed that Philadelphia game because Baltasar, Alan Obando, or whatever is starting, because I think he could probably use a rest. But I thought he played well in this game, deserved an award. The other player that I thought deserved an award was Jordi Alba. I rewatched and I thought he was excellent. I thought that was his best performance of the season. I wasn't there last night having watched it live, but having rewatched it again, I thought he was excellent. Vintage Alba. I thought this was his best game this season. He gets an assist for Fafa Picault at the end. He had another ball or two that could have been an assist. I thought he played really well.
Yeah, I didn't think he had too many sloppy moments as such. Had a difficult time off it defensively as well, and we went up against a tough Atlanta side. So held his own and got the game-winning assist. That's all you want from him. Overall, very positive thoughts about Alba. Almost back to his best. There's still more to come. Yeah,
and the goal contributions will come. But once you play at this level, at this talent level, the contributions come. And we saw it last night in the 89th minute. So that's it for me. I mean, I thought Busquets was fine. He was a little taken out of the game, but I think we could have a conversation about how Yannick Bright allows him to sort of go find the game in a different way, which doesn't happen with Redondo, and I really like. Tadeo Allende was his usual self, doesn't get the goal, but was still effective. Noah Allen, same. It's the same conversation every time. Gonzalo Lujan, he was fine.
But that's what you want from your backup right back. Yeah. You don't want anything else. Yeah. Perfectly fine.
So I have no complaints about this game. Honestly, I think this is an awesome game. This team has played 8 games. They've won 7 of them. Like, we have been saying undefeated as if it's been like 4 wins and 4 draws. No, it's 1 draw because Totavia's got a red card in the 22nd minute.
One draw against NYCFC, which you can basically pencil in as a non-factor of a game at the start of every season because we're never winning against NYCFC. So why bother?
I'm going to ask you a question, and I don't mean to be hyperbolic. I'm not saying we should be there now. I'm asking how many games out of 34 MLS games, right? We're 4 games in, and I know this sounds ludicrous, but how many games do we have to go undefeated before we talk about going the entire way undefeated? Like 24?
I think 25 games.
Okay. I'm just curious. I just want to put that down so that when we get there.
Okay, if we get to 21 games, I will start actually entertaining that discussion. And once we get to 25 games,
if we go 10 games undefeated, we're going to start talking about it.
Yeah, basically. Now that you've planted that seed,
I do say it tongue in cheek, but this team has not proven they can lose, honestly. So who knows? Okay, guys, we will be back on Wednesday. Actually, before I Saur, any other thoughts on this game before I wrap it up?
You've just planted the worst possible seed, and this is gonna germinate itself into an absolute monster. I can feel it, guys. Before Scotty takes it out of hand, we should depart. Nothing else from my side. I thought this was a great way to end our 8-game stretch, go into the international break, and we start again once we come back in 2 weeks. Big game to see against LAFC in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and a lot more Messi magic to follow. Hopefully he can come back from that injury, recover well, and I'm excited for what this team's going to become. A few new faces to be seen soon. That's going to be exciting. We're overall very pleased with how this team has been performing. Credits all around. Take us away, Scotty.
We have done a pregame show, a postgame reaction, and a postgame recap for 8 straight games. That's 24 episodes in the last 26 days, include a couple for the preseason games and that 5-hour thing we did, 5-hour preview show we did, and all the season, 15-minute season previews we did. It feels like it's been a marathon to get to this point. It's been a lot of fun, I will say. But this is our first real break, and it's our first opportunity to go on Wednesday to have a more nuanced conversation about this team in general. I'm very excited about that. It feels like it's always been game day, post game. Let's talk about what is about to happen or what just happened. And I'm very much looking forward to a couple conversations over the next couple weeks, more big picture about this team. I'm sure you are as well. And I hope you guys will join us. The first one will come Wednesday night. We are going to do it leading into Inter Miami 2's US Open Cup game. So hopefully you guys will join us and then watch that afterwards and support the team going into the US Open Cup. I will say every player on the secondary roster is available technically for that game. So guys like Santi Morales could play in that game. I mean, even a guy like Yannick Bright could, not that he would. But if Inter Miami does win on Wednesday night and they advance in this tournament, you might see guys like Ryan Saylor, you might see guys like Leo Alfonso and Santi Morales entertain playing with that team as they advance in the tournament. So it would be really awesome if Inter Miami 2 could win that game. But we'll have a very different episode. We'll talk about it a little bit, but we'll talk all things Inter Miami on Wednesday. And like you said, hopefully Alan Obando and Baltasar Rodriguez are, training with the team and stuff by then. Guys, thanks so much for being here. As always, you guys are the best. We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.